What's up, guys? Welcome to the Courtside Soundoff podcast. Today, I'm Josh Evanoff. He is the one and only Angel Ortega, the man, the myth, the legend. A lot of stuff to talk about this week, fellas. It is going to be an MMA-packed card. If you're not an MMA fan, might as well skip this one. If you're not an MMA fan, why the fuck do you listen to the show anyways? But that, whatever. Regardless of all that, guys, Bellator 1, UFC Bellator. Again, so much to go over. But before we go over that, I want to talk to you guys about an amazing sponsor of the show. Support for the Courtside Soundoff podcast is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Manscaped offers precision engineered tools for your family jewels. They obsess over technology developments to provide you the best tools for your grooming experience. Manscaped is trusted by over 2 million men worldwide. We have an exclusive offer for our listeners, and that is 20% off plus free shipping with the code Courtside20 at manscaped.com. Obviously, Manscaped's hooked us up with some stuff back when we started sponsoring the show. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Give a nice clean shave. I look phenomenal. Angel feels phenomenal. It's a fantastic product, guys. So go ahead and go show your support. Courtside20 at manscaped.com. And once again, that's 20% off. Free shipping at manscaped.com. Use code Courtside20. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. So, as talked about last week, no UFC, so we don't have anything to recap. However, we do have a little bit of Bellator to recap, my man. Bellator 255, Bellator's debut on Showtime. Before we get into the results, man, I gotta ask you. So, Bellator went ahead and overhauled their production. They overhauled their announcing team. Now there's no longer no Mike Goldberg, no Goldie in the booth. Now it's Big John, Josh Thompson, and obviously Mauro Ronaldo, a bunch of production switches. What were your overall thoughts on the card and kind of the switch to Showtime on last Friday's card?
I mean, the production was good. The quality was great. I mean, it was really just perfect, I thought. I mean, there was nothing I didn't like. I'll put it like that.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, I thought it was a nice change of pace just because Bellator needed to kind of get back to this place where, like, I enjoyed watching. Like, I had fun in the Bellator card for the first time in a long time. That DAZN era was pretty strange, and
Oh God, that
yeah,
sounds
I prefer
bad.
not to talk about it, honestly. Um, it was pretty bad. But yeah, man, I'm a big fan of Showtime and kind of the switch, and there was no better event because this event, for the first time in a long time, I feel like anytime Bellator historically has done these big cards, they've just had some really weird shit happen. Bellator 138, I want to say. Kimbo Shamrock, they had a super strange, weird fight. Bellator 149, Ken Shamrock, Royce Gracie ended with a knee to the balls. Bellator NYC, Angel, we watched that one together. I don't even need to go over half the crazy shit that happened there. Like Michael Chandler's leg breaking, but like it was just a nerve, and like, Fedor Mitrione double knockdown. It was
That's
weird
sick,
shit.
though.
That was awesome, though. That was a great card, but very, very strange. Aaron Pico losing in seconds. This card, for the first time in a long time, just a straight up good card, man. Main event, obviously, Patricio Pitbull Fellaini defeating Emmanuel Sanchez. First fight, as I mentioned last week on the show, very, very close. This time, you just see how much Pitbull has evolved. The guy that gave him a lot of problems first time around, just pure domination this time, knocking him down, putting a beating on him, ended up submitting him, choking him out cold at the guillotine. Angel, my man, where does Pitbull go from here as far as, well, I mean, we'll talk about where he goes from here because it's a tournament, but like, it's not, let me rephrase this.
I think his
In
trajectory is kind
terms
of
of
set,
pound for
Josh.
pound status, where do you see him now, given that he's dominated Bellator for so long? And I saw a lot of people saying last Friday night after his win that he is the greatest featherweight on the planet.
He might be, man. It's actually kind of crazy how good he is. Thing is, like, I love to see him fight a lot of guys. I think him and like I said in the past, Volkanovski would be like a great matchup. They're both kind of smaller, really compact guys. I think carry pretty good power. I think Pitbull has more power than Volkanovski. Uh, and the skill set's so different and the style's so different. I think the matchup would be so fun because I feel like if he got a win over someone like one guy, if one of the guys in the UFC fought him, I think that would solidify him as number one. I think that's what will always give him some doubt because I think he has tested himself against really good guys. It's just that there was guys that I'd love to see him fight that he can't fight.
Mm-hmm.
I do think he could pretty much. I'd pick him to beat probably, if I remember right from the UFC power rankings, from champ down to 2. I think those give him hard fights, but I think he could beat everybody below that.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I'm kind of in a similar place, man. I mean, it sucks that we don't see him in the UFC. I'm sure he's making a really good money in Bellator because he's kind of the face of promotion. I do probably have him as probably the third best featherweight on the planet. I think him and Volkanovski could be very close. I don't think him and Max would be very close just because I think Max Holloway's still evolving, and I thought he beat Volkanovski the second time, and I think he's the best featherweight on the planet. That's another discussion for another day, though. I think Patricio Pitbull is one of the greatest featherweights on the planet. It sucks we won't get to see him against UFC guys, but as far as seeing him against guys next, dude, next fight up, AJ Mckee. This is what I said. There's no better way for Bellator to have possibly scripted this tournament, dude. I mean, 16 men, and we got the absolute best possible result. The face of Bellator, the all-time win leader, the double champ, Patricio Pitbull, obviously 32-4, bona fide Hall of Famer, pound-for-pound elite, taking on AJ Mckee. 17-0, never lost, one of the greatest prospects in this sport and one of the greatest stars in Bellator, dude. How excited are you for that fight?
Dude, just the level of intensity, like right after they both came into the octagon and started talking, dude, there was something so, I don't know, it felt so raw. It was almost like a something I usually don't get in the UFC a lot from face-to-faces that I got in that moment. I get it more from boxing matches, and I got it in that moment from them too. The kind of energy they were giving off, and they kept it cool too, which I liked a lot. But they did their shit talk, and they really hyped me up, man. I'm almost like, Pitbull and Mckee over fucking Volkanovski Ortega right now. That's the way I feel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man, this is the best argument Bellator has for, like, okay, let me rephrase. This is going to be the best possible fight Bellator could ever put on. At least right now, throughout their entire promotion's history, Bellator has been around longer than Pride was, which I found out the other day. Kind of fucking weird. They've been around for 13 years, but nonetheless, man, two guys, just so much, like, success behind them, and it's rare to find that for guys outside of the UFC that have never been in the promotion. That like a lot of the guys that are outside of Bellator, even guys we'll talk about later on the show, that are in big fights in Bellator or in one or in other promotions, they have that success from the UFC, and that's what makes them big. These are two dudes that have never fought in the UFC, and you just know they are so damn good because of what they're doing. And I'm so psyched for this fight. I know the betting odds are going to be super, super close, man. I mean, I'm psyched for it. This is the best fight Bellator could put on, and I'm super hyped. And like you mentioned, dude, that stare down in the cage, there was just something so raw about it. I'm like, man, this is going to be dope. It's going to be a fucking dope-ass fight. But, yeah, man, moving on to the co-main, Jason Jackson defeating Neiman Gracie. I didn't agree with the decision on this one, but what did you think about the fight itself?
It was weird, because when the eye graze on the cage happened, I thought that really fucked up the momentum of the fight. Personally, I didn't think that he won the fight either. I completely understand the argument, but at the same time, I did not agree with the decision at all. I thought the wrong guy won that night. I mean, good for him. He has two big names now on his resume, and I guess moving forward, I mean, he's gonna keep getting those big names, man. I mean, the thing is, you got to put up the performances. I think he did do good against Neiman. I just thought Neiman won the fight.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same place I'm at. I thought he looked good. I mean, I thought he did a lot better on the ground against Neiman than I thought he was going to be able to.
Oh, yeah.
I thought Neiman clearly took it, though. Like, I was pretty damn surprised. It wasn't like an egregious robbery where I'm like, oh, man, that's bullshit. But it was like, oh, that's kind of a weird decision. Didn't ruin the card for me because overall, I mentioned on the top of the show, this card was phenomenal, man. What were some other fights in the card you wanted to go and highlight?
Let me see here. Let me just go down. I mean, the Usman fight was good. Mike Hamill really brought it to him. I mean, he didn't end up giving him any difficulties, but I liked Mike Hamill's toughness. I thought he made Usman at least try to work for it a little bit. You know, even knowing Usman had it pretty much in full control, there was no doubt in his mind at any point. You know, Mike Hamill was a tough dude that they put in front of him, and I thought that was a good matchup there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. As far as that, I thought it was a great debut for him. It didn't like completely. It wasn't like a complete destruction or anything, but I thought it was a pretty good performance. Um, I thought Alejandra Lara had a good performance. I thought she won that fight on the main card opener against Conor Watanabe. Tyrell Fortune getting a nice knockout in a rematch against Jack May. Man, depressing fight of the night. Roger Huerta, man. Just hang him up, my man. Just please, like, I'm not gonna go Joe Rogan like, you'd be surprised you get fucked up. So like I'm not gonna give the Brendan Schaub treatment, but
You might have to, Josh.
it's time, my man. I love Roger Huerta. Dude's a straight up legend. One of the greatest like early day like lightweights. Like he's kind of the guys. He's one of the dudes that established that division. I mean, he's all the way back at UFC 63, my guy. So I mean, it sucks to see this happen, and I don't know, man. But anyways, as far as that goes, still a overall very very fun card, except for that. Um, but man, speaking of depressing fights, so one championship, there was a card that happened, one on TNT. We were very excited for it, you and I.
Yeah, it
Um,
was.
I was excited, and then what happened was just it wasn't bad, right? Well, there was one. Okay, we'll go ahead and go over this part real quickly. I said I wasn't going to talk about it because it pissed me off, but I will talk about it. Eddie Alvarez, opening up the main card, disqualification 1 minute in against Lurid Laprecious. He took down Laprecious, landed some shots to the side of his head. I thought they were pretty clearly on the ear. I want to get your opinion on that too, but I thought they were pretty clearly on the ear. Laprecious goes down. Eddie with some hammer fists, and he's DQ'd because apparently they were on the side of the head, somehow, I guess. And they were really just taps on the side of the head too. But anyways, man, what'd you think about that? About the disqualification?
I mean, I saw the full clip, right, and there was one that did eventually hit what was sort of the back of the head, but it was one in comparison to what I think the refs saw. I can't. Did the refs say anything? I couldn't hear him.
I did not hear the ref say anything.
Yeah, I'm surprised there was no verbal warning. Usually, all the refs are like, "Watch the back of the head," or something like that, right? They usually tell you something. I thought that was kind of a mistake on the ref's part too, because I mean, isn't his job to keep both fighters safe?
Mm-hmm.
So, and that applies to both of them to keep one from, obviously not getting DQ'd because you want to do as little as you can to prevent the competition from being skewed by anything that isn't the competition itself. So I thought that was a big mistake on the ref's part if he didn't say anything, and I didn't hear the ref say anything, so I kind of had an issue with that. And I mean, as far as the hits, I mean, they looked pretty close to the ear. I mean, at least from what I saw, there was some that might have been just slightly behind the ear. Obviously, you know, it happens sometimes, right? But I think the verbal warning should have been given. I think the straight into the DQ was kind of ridiculous because it wasn't the most criminal thing that's happened in all of MMA. There's been a lot worse shit that's occurred, and for that to be the DQ and the way it happened, and for Eddie to be kind of, especially for the fighter that was in that position who was having a lot of success, to lose it like that was really shitty because Eddie had him controlled on the ground, man. I mean, Eddie was looking good. Eddie was back to his roots of wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
And to see it be ended like that really sucks. And we don't know what could have happened. Maybe the position change would have happened if the fight would have kept going on, and Laprecious would have been able to do something. But it was probably it was one of like honestly, as far as a whole, and across all the promotions, I'd say the only one that hasn't had a bad moment yet is probably. Well, actually, no. I'll say, like as far as all MMA promotions, they've all had like a fucking weird moment. The UFC with the fucking win by DQ and the eye poke and the eye grazing on the cage that happened that night, and I mean not that night, but last Friday in Bellator, and then the shit that happened in one this last Wednesday. It's just like, dude, all this weird shit's been happening in MMA.
Yeah, man, and part of it is just it's. I gotta say it. I'm not gonna say this to be like insulting, but the first thing I thought whenever I saw this happening, because it was a debut. They're on national television. It's a huge deal. My first thought when I saw Eddie get DQ'd, I'm like, that's a Bellator moment right there, my man. That's a straight up Bellator moment. Um, just like for one of the bigger stars of promotion to get just disqualified immediately. Um, It sucks, man. I felt really pissed off. Now, I was pissed off to start with. I became more pissed off progressively throughout the night because the next fight we're going to talk about, Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson. You and I have long proclaimed him as either the GOAT or one of the GOATs. Um, I think that's almost inarguable. Um, some people like to argue, oh, competition, blah blah blah, whatever. 11 title defenses in the DC. That's a record. Pretty much the GOAT flyweight, not even close. One of the, so on and so forth. I don't have to give you his fucking resume. Everybody knows Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson is one of the greatest fighters of all time. Fighting for the one championship title, he just won the one Grand Prix. And he's taking on Adriano Moraes, who apparently in one said they've eliminated weight cutting. But DJ was in there fighting a welterweight, so whatever. Anyways,
Yeah,
it's a good fight up until the second round. DJ shoots for a takedown, gets hit with a right uppercut. Adriano jumps on with some ground and pound and proceeds to hit DJ right in the face with a knee because that's perfectly legal. But I know it's the rule set, but it's a stupid rule set if knees to the face are perfectly legal. Here's another fun fact about one. Soccer kicks are illegal in one championship. Go look up Roger Huerta getting knocked out by a soccer kick. One of the most brutal things I've ever seen. That's perfectly legal. But punches to the side of the head, that's a no-go for me, bud. Anyways, jokes aside here. Suck to see DJ lose like this, man. It just shows that all the GOATs have their day. You know what I mean? Like even the greatest fighters of all time have their day. I mean, what did you think about the fight in the main event?
it was heartbreaking, dude. I saw the size of the man, and I was like, "What the fuck?" Granted, though, I did find out recently that flyweight is actually 135 instead of 125.
Mm-hmm.
They do have a 125 division. It's not called flyweight. It's actually called strawweight. Josh, did you notice?
I actually did not know this.
Okay,
I knew
yeah,
that he was fighting at 135. I didn't know they had that their division was called strawweight though.
yeah, which is weird. I don't know why they just changed the name, but yes, they do have a strawweight MMA division where the weight they have to meet at is 125, which is interesting. I wonder why DJ is not fighting there to begin with, instead of fighting at flyweight, which is actually bantamweight for them. I don't know. So I don't
Well,
know.
it's because one has eliminated weight cutting, so
Mm-hmm.
DJ has to fight at 135.
Mm.
So the guy that you saw in there, that's a 135-pound man, same as DJ. So, and you can look up DJ's other past opponents, and you can even look up Eddie's opponents and
Oh,
Sage. Did
they look
Sage,
juicy.
Northcutt, and Cosmo Alexander look like the same weight to you?
It was at least Sage looks big, so at least it's close.
Whatever. I just one is such a shady organization that I do enjoy their fights, but it's still a really shady organization. Like Shatari always saying that like they're getting 1 billion viewers and shit like that. Like half of their
Same.
Instagram followers are fake. You know what I mean? Like you ever like it just bugs me as like a corporation. That being said though,
Yeah.
Adreno Moraes is fucking legit, bro. I mean, I would love to see a rematch between those two somewhere down the line.
Yeah. And DJ said
Size,
DJ was down for it too.
yeah, size difference aside, I think they're probably gonna make DJ fight one more time or maybe two more times before he gets a fight because he had to fight 3 times to get the title shot.
He's
To
still
get
holding
like
the Grand Prix title though.
he did win the Grand Prix title. I'll give him that. So I expect he'll go ahead and get back to that title. And I wouldn't be
Yes.
surprised if he wins it. But dude, Adriano Moraes, I even give him the first round. He looked phenomenal. So shout out that kid. So as far as it goes, man, yeah, that was all of the MMA that happened this past week. Um, but don't worry, Angel. We still got a lot of stuff this week, my man. Coming this Saturday night, we get to see Marvin Vittori and Kevin Holland live on ABC for 5 rounds.
In the morning. No, not in
In
the morning.
in
Early
the
day.
yeah, it's a I'm gonna be at work for this one. It's
Yeah,
a
dude.
3 p.m. Central Time card.
Yeah, what the fuck?
It's just
Yeah, it's on fucking ABC, dude. Like, what the fuck are they doing?
this is like whenever they did this last time too with Max Holloway.
Oh, dude,
They put
I was so pissed. I don't know why they do it.
which by the way, oh my god, ABC Family, you know what I mean? Like all those ABC people just tuning in to see this fucking bloodbath. Max Holloway nearly killing a man in the ring, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
I know, right? The
on some
fuck?
Rocky type shit. Like, oh my god.
Yes, it really was some Rocky type shit. Except Rocky didn't have Rocky went the distance, but it was not worth it at all.
No, he didn't. But I was more. Well, I mean, what's his name? That's some Ivan Drago type shit right there.
Yes, if he
'Cause he
dies,
killed
he
Apollo,
dies.
so
Oh
it's just an
God.
exhibition. Anyways, yeah. So back to the fight. Marvin Vettori, man, obviously coming off of a nice win last year against Jack Hermanson, making his way up the division, known as Izzy's Kryptonite.
Jesus kryptonite. That shit's funny.
He most notably took Israel Adesanya back in 2018 to a split decision. That was a terrible split decision, but it was a split decision. Since then, he's beaten Cesar Ferreira, Andrew Sanchez, Carl Roberson, and now Jack Hermanson. Obviously, stepping in on short notice, replacing Darren Till is Big Mouth Kevin Holland. Those of you who just are casual fans of MMA are probably thinking, didn't you guys just talk about this guy a week ago? Yes, we did. Kevin Holland last lost to Derek Brunson back in March 20th is the date. And he's going to be the fastest quick round, tied with Michael Bisping forever between two main events. Obviously, Bisping got choked out by GSP and then knocked out by Kelvin Gastelum. Let's hope things go better for Kevin Holland, who last lost to Brunson. Now he's stepping in against the top-ranked Vettori. My man, I've told you off air how little I am appetized by this fight, just by virtue of it's a really bad matchup for Kevin Holland. He did not look great last time out. Very short notice. That being said, though, I mean, what do you think about the fight itself?
I mean, it's not terrible. I think he has a good chance. Do I think he'll do anything with that? Absolutely not. I think the issue, man, is it's just the I think Marvin's just too big for him. I think he'll clutch him a lot, make it difficult for him, not allow him to do anything, to find any success. It's too overwhelming, man. It really is. Put him up against the cage. Maybe he'll come in there and bang with him, but I think even if he does, it's not a smart idea for Kevin. Kevin's gonna have to fight an extremely technical fight if he wants to be able to be Vettori on that night, and there's no way that's gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
He's more focused. I could tell. He's unsatisfied for sure. Which is all the good signs. You can tell he wants to avenge his loss and at some point get that rematch. At some point, I think out of all his losses, he said he hasn't rematched any of those or been able to get a rematch on them. So he'd like to do that at some point. And if he gets to win here, shit, the hype train's back on track. You know, I mean, and then the one thing that kind of sucks here is if Vettori wins this fight, it doesn't do a crazy amount for him. It does get him back. It does give him another win. He continues his win streak. He gets another decent name on his record, but it's a guy who, you know, if he beats him, it's like, well, shit, he was on, you know, like a week's notice, notably unfocused, you know, and probably should beat the guy. So if he does lose here, it's kind of like, damn, what are you doing, you know? So it's like, it's all set for Vettori here for him to win here.
Yeah, man. And as far as that goes, it's completely set up for Vettori. This seems like his big moment. They kind of had this little middleweight Grand Prix sort of thing going on where it's like there were obviously 4 top middleweight contenders all fighting in the span of 2 weeks. Obviously, next week we got Whitaker and Gastelum. This week we got Vettori and Holland. Originally, Vettori Till. There's no way Kevin Holland's getting the title shot if he wins.
Wait a second, Josh. You forgot another group of guys who are fighting. You forgot.
Oh man, don't.
You forgot Chris Weidman and Uriah Hall. Chris Weidman and Uriah
Chris
Hall.
Weidman coming for that dude. Weidman probably out there like, I'm a really bad matchup for Israel Adesanya.
He really is though. Like, I'm not trying to be funny.
Are you serious?
I think just the wrestling. Outside of that, nothing else.
I love you, my man. You are high if you think Weidman is a bad matchup.
I shouldn't say he's a bad matchup. I think he's an interesting matchup, and he proposes some interesting challenges if he's able to get to Izzy in the clinch or on the ground.
I'll give you that. I think Prime Weidman would be a really good challenge. I don't think
man.
Now.
What you mean?
Wait, what?
What you mean, bro? What are you trying to say?
Nothing, bro. Nothing. I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying anything. Just that if he fought like how he did against Omari Akhmedov, and he was dying 3 minutes in, he looked like me going up. Like he looked like me, dude. Like 3 minutes past
Granted,
that.
though, that was one of his early returns. He's still trying to get used to everything, you
I
know. Like,
know, I know. And I love Weidman, dude. I would love to see Weidman get out there and just. Well, I also love Uriah Hall. I hate that fight, dude. Straight up, like I love both those dudes, so I really don't want to see that happen. And similar for Gastelum and Whitaker. You know what I mean? Like those are my boys.
dude, if Whitaker loses there, I don't even know what to say.
If
I mean,
Whitaker loses, I'm gonna be really upset simply because he. How many times are you gonna make him fight top 5 guys to give?
You know what's crazy though? I could see them make him fight another time after that.
I'm absolutely sure they would too, because it's like.
But then at that point though, it's kind of like, okay, it's kind of. I'm not gonna lie, it'd be kind of cool if he did, because it's kind of like, okay, motherfuckers, you know,
It's badass. It's really badass.
It's really badass. It really is.
But it was badass him like even fighting Cannonier. You know what I mean? Like, because he's literally going off of and beating these dudes that Izzy was like, you know what? You win this fight, you get a title shot. You know what I mean? Like that's what he's doing. Like he said that to Till.
My issue is though,
and then Whitaker beat him. And then
yeah, no, you're right. But I was gonna say
and then he beat him.
Oh, you're right. But the thing is, my issue is, it's like I feel like if he does beat Gastelum on the given night, that they're gonna be like, well, shit. I mean, Gastelum was on a losing streak anyways, and he won one fight. So,
that's exactly what they're gonna. For some reason, Dana hates Robert Whitaker, and I know that like.
He's one of the most entertaining guys he has though in like the whole promotion, which is weird.
I don't even know if it's Dana though. A part of me wonders if it's Izzy, because I know that and here's the worst part, right? Izzy knocked him out in the second round. That is true, but that was a really competitive fight. Like
for the first round. No, I was kidding.
There were 2 exchanges that Whitaker really lost, and obviously he got knocked down in the last second of round 1, and then he got knocked out in round 2. There have been, dude. Like there have been significantly worse fights for dudes to have lost in a title shot, and then immediately Jorge Masvidal is getting a title shot next. What are we doing here, man? Like, and it's not like we're here with some Trumpist champion. I mean, he beat Romero twice, beat Jacare, beat Brunson, beat Hall, Tavares.
We were there for that.
We were there for that. That was dope. I was surprised at that too. That was a big upset at the time. And obviously now he beat Till and Cannonier, and he just bodied Cannonier. Like that wasn't even close. So I don't know, man. It's just frustrating. It's frustrating. I think they will try and screw him if he does not win. But I don't know. We'll see. There's a lot of 185 to like. And in case you guys can't tell, the fact that we just spent 5 minutes on a fight that's happening next week, I said there's a lot to like in the middleweight. This fight's not one of them. I'm not very excited for this fight. Not because I don't think it's going to be bad. But I don't have a whole lot of faith that Kevin Holland's going to be able to pull it out. I don't think it's going to be very entertaining. Marvin Vettori, I think he's going to run right through him. I think right now he's on a hot streak, man, and he's very determined. He's very angry, as is tradition for Marvin Vettori at this point. He's very upset, and that's a bad thing for the middleweight division. I think he's going to go out there, probably a decision win. I think the only way that Holland's be able to pull this out is if it's a knockout. And dude, Vettori has a huge head, and it's made out of steel. So I don't think he's gonna get the knockout. But dude, co-main event. I'm more excited for the co-main event than the main event, my man. Arnold Allen, 16-1, undefeated in the UFC, amazing British prospect, taking on Sodiq Yusuff. Almost says name wrong, about to get canceled, bro. Sodiq Yusuff, 11-1. Undefeated in the UFC. Last beat Andre Feely in 2020. Got a couple nice wins under his belt. Same for Arnold Allen, my man. What do you think of this co-main, and who do you got?
I'm a little sad because, and I get why they do it. It's these 2 young guys who are very early on in their career, hitting those primary years in their athletic career, and I mean, I'm excited. They're both 2 very talented guys. Arnold Allen, super well-rounded. It's been a little while since we've seen him. Sadiq, not too long ago, I should say. And then Sadiq also carries crazy power. Might be the strongest guy of that weight class, at least as far as power. I wouldn't say like physical strength, but at least is that power in the hand, man. And his athleticism is definitely well above Arnold's. I consider him the better, more athletic, or he has those athletic capabilities, I should say. There's guys who are really good Like, for example, there's guys like Ben Askren who weren't like great athletes, but were really hardworking guys who were really good at what they did, you know. And there was guys who were really athletic, like, well, I hate to say it, John Jones, and made a really good career out of being really athletic and also really technical at the same time. Uh, I'm a little torn up on this matchup. I think the way I've heard it is a lot of people are actually sleeping on Sadiq. I think Arnold Allen is the favorite going right now, but Sadiq is kind of like the real sleeper pick. People are sleeping on him. I don't know. I've gone back and forth on it. I think I'm gonna pick Arnold Allen. I think he's more, well-rounded guy, but at the same time, Sadiq has a lot to provide too. I wouldn't be surprised if he came out. I think either guy can come out on top. Obviously, they're matched up against each other. Uh, and the guy who wins this kind of gets those bigger names, Calvin Caters, the Beats, the Yairs, the Max Holloways at some point. So there's a big fight for them.
Yeah, man, this is a huge fight for both of them. And as far as it goes, man, I'm I'm really high on Arnold Allen, man. And this is a kid that has impressed me each step of the way in his UFC career. Sadiq Youssef has also impressed me, but at the same time, I also thought he lost to Andre Fili last time out. Just being honest, and I'm also going to take Arnold Allen, man. I mean, this is a guy that's just each step of the way, he's just looked completely dominant. Dominating Nick Lentz, dominate that fight against Gilbert Melendez was brutal at times. That was a straight up just it was a fucking clinic he put on him, and I love Gilbert. So I'm gonna go ahead and take Arnold Allen, my man. I'm gonna go ahead and take him in the co-main. As far as the rest of the card, though, was there anything in particular you wanted to go and point out?
Ooh, there's actually a couple. I actually have a couple people I want to name. First of all, I always need to give a shout out to the friend of the podcast, Mike Platinum Perry, coming back, staying kind of silent for this one. Josh, have you noticed that?
I have noticed that. I saw
But he
him
is a kid
talking.
now, though.
He's like, well, okay. Um, I saw him talking about that, about how like he's calmer now that he's got a kid and he's chilling, you know.
Is he having
And
a
then
cowboy moment?
I thought that, and then I remembered like, did you see the video like 2 months ago of him kicking a hole through like the window in his house and bleeding out on the ground? Did you see that video?
Yes, that was
That was like
rough.
2 months ago. His kid's been born for like 6 months now. Like,
Has it really
it,
been that long?
I don't know. Actually, let me. I don't give a shit. I'm not sure. I'm not gonna look this up. It's probably not. It's only been like 3 or 4 months. But
Granted, though,
regardless,
within the leading up to the fight, though, there's been relative silence, though.
there has been relative silence. I will give him that. I've heard that he's training in an actual camp.
That's what I heard
Um,
too. That's what I'm saying.
yeah. So we'll see. He's training out of MMA Masters. Um,
Was it
I
right?
believe that's in South Florida, but don't quote me on that. I've heard of that camp before, but I don't know where.
Okay,
Um,
I have to look it up later.
but yeah, man, he's taking on D-Rod. Daniel Rodriguez, man, I thought he beat Nicholas Dalby last time out. He's still 13-2. Showed a lot of potential to the UFC. Beat Tim Means. Knocked out Dwight Grant. I don't know, man. That's a tough draw. That's a tough draw for your first fight back. For Mike Platinum Perry, friend
I
of the
think
podcast.
it's a tough fight for both guys, right? At the end of the day.
Fair enough, fair enough. And another friend of the podcast showing up, Sam Alvey.
Yeah.
Sam Alvey, friend of the podcast, taking on Kansas City's own Julian Marquez. That's going to be a fun fight.
I like
Now,
it.
will Julian Marquez be able to rebound after completely fumbling the ball with Miley Cyrus? It's yet to be known. But jokes aside, I'm psyched. This might be the fight I'm most excited for on the entire card. It's close.
Really?
That's a lie. It's totally Mike Perry, Danny Rodriguez. But that was a straight up lie. But this fight has a lot of potential, my guy. I mean, Sam Alvey, whenever he's
This fight
facing
might come to
somebody that
bang,
like
dude.
is an actual like dude who comes to bang, like he actually brings the fight to him, it's always a lot of fun. Julian Marquez has had 0 boring fights ever. So I'm really psyched for this fight, guy, honestly. And then, dude, on the undercard too. I mean, actually, not even the undercard. This fight night's awesome. Nina Ansaroff, now going by Nina Nunez, is taking on Mackenzie Dern, dude. That's an awesome fight. Also, a terrible fight for Nina to take after a 2-year layoff. Very bold decision.
Didn't McKenzie have a kid not too long ago though? Or am I wrong? I think it was someone
No,
else.
Well, that's what's weird because Mackenzie had a kid and then returned like immediately. She she had a kid in June of 2019 and then returned to fight in October 2019.
Hey man, she killed it though. She been
Yeah, she
killing
did
it.
kill it.
She had a
She's won
crazy
3 in a row.
2020.
Yeah,
Yeah,
3 in a row all in 2020.
Yeah, 2 finishes, and I mean, you know, that's a tough fight for Nina Ansaroff, aka Nina Nunes now, right?
Nina Nunes, yeah.
Okay.
Going to be a lot of fun though. And then on the undercard, we got a lot of stuff to like as well. Jim Miller's back, taking on Joe Solecki. Scott Holtzman taking on Matez Gomrot. Should be a lot of fun. Aaron Blanchfield. I've been hitting on a couple of my prospects lately. Miranda Maverick was one that I've shouted out. I'm going to go and shout out Aaron Blanchfield, my man. This girl has a lot of talent. Should probably be 7-0 at this point. Has great striking, great wrestling. She's taking on Norma Dumont. That one's gonna be really entertaining. Norma Dumont kicked the shit out of Ashley Evans Smith last fight.
She did.
She did. That was brutal. So that's gonna be a tough fight. That's gonna be very entertaining. John McDessie's back. Jorgen De Castro's back. Hunter Azure, man. De Jung Ung. A lot of stuff to like, man. And then the underrated banger on the card, Impa Kasinge, Sasha Palatnikov. That is going to be a banger. That's opening up the card. So I'll make sure to watch that one.
You love to see it.
Love to see it, man. And look, that's not even the end of the show, guys. It's not even the end of the show. We got more MMA.
More MMA, Josh.
More MMA.
You're playing with me.
No, man, I'm dead ass, bro. I'm dead ass. I'm the hardest working man in MMA media. Last week I was at Bellator. Once again was at Bellator this past week for Bellator 256. Bader versus Machida 2. Ryan Bader and Lyoto Machida are kicking off Bellator's light heavyweight Grand Prix, which you and I have hyped up a lot on this show. And for really good reason. There's a lot of names in there. I think Bellator's light heavyweight division is their best division. If it's not, it's really fucking close. And these are the guys that are kicking it off. Obviously, this is a rematch of a fight that happened back in the UFC, back in, I want to say, let me get the date for it. I believe it was 2010. It was 2012, excuse me. Obviously, Machida knocking out Bader in the second round. Obviously, since then, Bader, he's had some ups and some downs. Ended the UFC, left the UFC on a win streak, came to Bellator, dominated light heavyweight, won the title, dominated the Bellator heavyweight Grand Prix, knocked out Fedor. I cried. Lost the light heavyweight title though to Vadim Nemkov, Fedor's protege, in some Rocky type shit. Lost the title back in August of 2020. Trying to get back on the winning trails. Lyoto came to Bellator back in 2019. Started off pretty good. Knocked out Rafael Carvalho. Beat Rafael Carvalho via decision. Knocked out Chael Sonnen. I cried. And he's had back-to-back split decisions against Gegard Mousasi and Phil Davis. You can argue he should have won both of those fights as well. So, Andrew, what do you think about this fight happening? And what do you think about these two kicking off the Grand Prix?
Super excited, man. I mean, the Grand Prix is probably the best thing going on in MMA right now, in my opinion. Just the names, the legends, everything, man. And, this is a rematch. What is it, 10 years? 10 years in the making, Josh? 9 years, something like that?
9 years, yeah.
9 years in the making. And, I mean, that was just relatively early on. And, I wouldn't say very early on. At that point, Bader had plenty of fights in MMA. But, it was a while ago, right?
He was a late bloomer, though. So,
yes,
I would say that was the best Ryan Bader.
And this is that was the Ryan Bader of back then. The Ryan Bader of now is, it's a different guy. He was not as confident in striking as he is now.
Mm-hmm.
Not the greatest striking by any means still. And also Lyoto was in his primer years. I'd say his better years. Now he's slowed down a little bit. Still fights the same. Hasn't really changed his style. Still that karate stance. And at the time, man, when they had fought in that finish, man, I felt like he just kind of baited him into it. Like, he's like, oh shit, this guy can't hit me. CM Punk style, right? This guy can't hurt me. He can't fight. No, I was kidding. This guy can't fight. And baited him into that hand, dude, and put out Bader. But I think this could be a different story on this given night, man. On Friday night, I think we'll see Bader come out on top this time around.
Yeah, man. It's a really I'm really psyched for this fight just because I think you kind of mentioned it. Seeing how these two dudes' careers have gone since then, I gotta say, man, I'm a Ryan Bader mark. I don't know why, but ever since I saw Bader fight like years ago when I was first getting into the sport, I'm like, that's my guy right there. I don't know why. Probably just because of his nickname, Darth Bader. I love that shit.
You love
Really
to see
stupid.
it.
Love to see it, but I love it. You know what I mean? And since that fight, you can just tell this dude's evolved a lot. He's improved his striking significantly. He's he has that punching power. Like you can just go back to even I'd say like probably the worst example I saw of it was whenever he fought Rumble. He looked terrified on the feet. Now Rumble can do that to a lot of people, but just he looked that same way in nearly all of his fights, man. I mean, he just looked terrified to be there, especially if it was on the feet. Since then, he's evolved, man. He's improved a lot to the point to where like he's comfortable striking on the feet with anybody. And I do think Lyoto is older. I do think Lyoto is a live dog. I think a lot of people are just kind of saying, "Oh, they're throwing Lyoto to the wolves for this one." I think Lyoto should have won his last two fights. Um, so especially the Musasi one. So he's older, yes, but his style's aged very gracefully in MMA, which is pretty rare to find, especially considering I thought back in like 2017. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be rough, man. Like whenever he got knocked out by Brunson and Yoel and Luke Rockhold, everybody's knocking him out at that point. But and then he won 4 fights in a row, and he should arguably be on a 6 fight win streak. So it is what it is, man. I'm gonna go ahead and take Bader, but I would not be surprised to see Lyoto win. So I'm gonna go ahead and take Bader in the first fight of the light heavyweight Grand Prix, which, like you said, one of the greatest things going in MMA right now. I think it's the best thing in MMA right now. I'm so psyched for it. I heard there's a rumors of Bellator lightweight Grand Prix. I don't know anything about that yet, but it's just a rumor I heard flying around. So you guys should keep your eyes on that. But as far as the co-main, man, I said it last week on this card. I said it last week about this card. Excuse me. I like this card more than I liked Bellator 255. One of the reasons being, dude, I'm a huge fan of this co-main event. Liz Carmouche, obviously, former UFC women's title contender, fought for the belt once against Rousey, fought for the belt again against Shevchenko, immediately cut her for some reason. Now, making her Bellator, what would it be, second outing? Her sophomore outing against Vanessa Porto, who is making her Bellator debut. Vanessa Porto, a long-time Invicta fighter, fought for the title 3 times, finally won it in her third time out against Pearl Gonzalez, won that back in 2019, moved on after beating Karina Rodriguez in an awesome fight, moved on to Bellator, man. This chick's been everywhere as far as weight classes has gone. She's fought everywhere from 125 to 145, fighting at 125 now. Former Cyborg opponent, took her to a decision back in the day. She has the weirdest resume of all time. I just want to go ahead and say that real quickly before we talk about the fight itself. If you guys just want to go have like a weird, what the fuck moment, just go look at Vanessa Porto's resume, guys. Seriously, took Cyborg to a decision, beat Tanya Evinger, lost to Roxanne Modafferi, beat Jermaine Durandamy, lost to Nunes, beat Jennifer Maia, and so on and so forth. There's a couple of other weird fights too, so it's weird. But as far as the fight goes, my man, what do you think about the co-main event on this one?
I mean, it's two legit people, man. I mean, I think it's actually kind of a sleeper fight. I mean, they're both, people who at this point have gotten, experience in women's MMA is everything, man, because it's something that's hard to get because there's not a lot of people who are at that high. Like the people who are at their peak is very few, they're just literally pick, right? So the ones who have fought the most and put themselves out there the most are the ones who've kind of evolved the most, and that's why it's like these women have such long longevity and they fight so long, man, because they have to do it and they get to learn more because there's not the biggest talent pool that there is compared to men, at least at this point. And both these people are very talented. Obviously, Lise Carmouche, back in the day, had the what was it? Was it the inaugural title fight with Ronda?
Yeah,
she
the
part of
first
that?
ever UFC women's fight.
Yeah, so that was that, man, and she's been a part of that, and now she's with Bellator, and as far as her talents, man, I mean, I feel like if she lets her hands go a little bit, she can get a little comfortable. And obviously, her striking is, it's nothing crazy, but it does what it needs to do. I think her best part of her game is probably her wrestling and jujitsu. Together combined, it's gonna be great. And then Vanessa Porter on her end, man. I mean, dude, I mean, she, like you said, probably one of the most interesting resumes you could put together. Uh, Also pretty talented. I mean, she used to be kind of not fully one dimensional, but was took it to the mat. Focused on jiu-jitsu. Now she's kind of involved a little bit more outside of that. Uh, as far as the matchup though, I feel Carmouche on this one, man. I feel pretty comfortable with that pick.
Yeah, I've gone back and forth on this one a lot. I mean, it's definitely interesting because, like you mentioned, experience is everything in MMA, and it's pretty rare to find two women, I should say, who've been fighting in MMA really since the beginning. I say this applies more to Porto, because she was fighting back in the day where women's MMA was 2 rounds, back in 2005. So she's been around in the game for a long time, my man. She was fighting back whenever weight classes were all over the place. Like I said, she fought Cyborg in her fifth fight. She's 37 now, same as Carmouche. I went back and forth on this one a lot, man, and I am gonna go Liz Carmouche. I do think the experience of just fighting the higher level like fighters, just in terms of the UFC, and she looked phenomenal in her Bellator debut back in 2020 in September. I'm gonna go and take Carmouche. I do think she can make that title shot next, which is gonna be interesting. But you know what, man, it's gonna be a fun fight. I would not be surprised to see Porto come out on top. But as far as the rest of the card, my guy, what do you see that's appealing?
Ooh, man, I gotta give a shout out to, where's he at here? Let me give his name. I want to get it right. Dalton Rosta, man. This is a guy to keep an eye out, man. I think he went 7-0 in the AMs, all finish. They came into, he's something special when he has no fights and he's fighting in Bellator. Homegrown, 4-0 right now, facing Tony Johnson. Got to keep an eye out on.
For sure, man. I mean, that was a nice pick by you. I'll give you credit. And he's taking on a guy in Tony Johnson that is pretty good in his own right. 92 knocked out Joe Schilling last time out, and Joe Schilling is a motherfucker. So yeah, shout out that fight. That's gonna be an awesome one. That's gonna be the last fight before going to the main card. To go back to the main card, my man, Jeremy Kennedy, Adam Boric. That is an awesome fight, man. Adam Boric obviously coming off of his time in the featherweight Grand Prix, taking on Jeremy Kennedy, who former PFL fighter, normally was in the UFC. I thought it was bullshit that he got cut. Um,
Probably
he,
is.
yeah, he was 3-0, wins over Alexander Ritchie, Rony Jason, and then Kyle Bochniak. He lost to future champion Alexander Volkanovski at UFC 221 via knockout. After that, they cut him. Fought PFL, now made his way to Bellator, taking on Adam Boric. That should be a really fun fight. Kat Zingano fighting in, I believe, for Bellator. Actually, second fight in Bellator, excuse me. Looking to get that title shot against Cyborg, which is honestly, for my money, the only interesting fight they can make with Cyborg at the moment. Speaking of Cyborg, man, did you hear who her next opponent is going to be?
They announced it. We were there for it, man.
We were there for it. Leslie Smith. So, yeah, I really want Kat Zingano to win here. Because no disrespect to Leslie Smith. Leslie Smith is one of my favorite women's MMA fighters. She's one of the few that have actually been really notable in terms of fighting for a union, and fighting for equal pay. Just in MMA, that a lot of fighters don't get paid what they're worth. John Jones is going on the crusade for, if you don't support me, you don't support fighters. But John Jones makes $5 million a fight. Leslie Smith is somebody trying to form a union, doing Project Spearhead, which is actually trying to get fighters together to get better pay. And now she's getting that title shot. I'm happy for her. She got the shit kicked out of her last time they fought. This is a rematch of a fight that happened at UFC 198. We'll see what happens. But I don't have super high expectations. But yeah, man, that's a fight that's going down. It's going back to Kat Zingano. She's taking on Olivia Parker. Olivia Parker, not a lot of experience. She's very clearly the underdog, and they're kind of throwing Zingano in there to hopefully get a win, is kind of the feeling that I get. I mean, Olivia Parker, former Invicta fighter, props to her. She's 4-1, but she is coming off a loss. So we'll see what happens. And then obviously, in my opinion, one of the greatest fights on the card is opening up the card. Dan Moretz taking on Gochi Yamaguchi. Obviously, Dan Moret, former UFC fighter. Really, dude had a rough draw. Dude had a really rough draw in the UFC. Faced Gilbert Burns, Alex White, and Jared Gordon. Definitely not three dudes that you want to face in the UFC. So that's a tough draw for the man. Just taking on Gucci Yamaguchi, number 3 in the Bellator lightweight rankings. Dude just straight up G. Wins over Ryan Couture, Adam Piccolotti, Syed Awad, Derek Cruikshank, Daniel Weichel. One of the greatest of that division. So yeah, man, I'm hyped for that fight as well. And as far as it goes, is there anything else on the Bellator card you want to touch on before we close out?
No, man, I think we touched up on everything perfectly, actually.
Yeah, I think so as well. And as far as that goes, man, I mean, is there anything else we have to touch on the show? Because I feel like there's not a whole lot else going on in the sports world unless I'm missing something.
No, we kind of touched everything up. I mean, like we said, NBA kind of getting there finally. We'll be able to talk about playoffs, and because that's kind of starting to settle down, and our end of the year awards, well, not end of the year, but end of the season awards. But I mean, there's still a lot, man. I mean, we're starting to go into May with plenty of regular season games.
That's true. That's true. So yeah, man, as far as it goes, I guess that's all we had to close out. And appreciate you guys listening as always. I'm at Josh Evanoff on Twitter. He's at Angeltiga_01 at Courtside Sound1 on Twitter, at Courtside Soundoff on Instagram. Appreciate all the love we've been getting lately on the channel. It's been great. So go ahead and keep that love going, my man. I mean, we are the hardest working men in MMA media. John Morgan, kiss my ass. Appreciate you guys. Peace out. Peace and butt grease.